So in April, I made a video detailing my thoughts on Nintendo's March Direct. Yeah, I know, great timing there. Which was when Octo Expansion was first announced. And I talked about how I was pretty skeptical about more Splatoon single-player content, since I didn't like Splatoon 2's Hero Mode. And I laid out a bunch of points of what Octo Expansion would have to do in order to be at least pretty good. And now, after having played Octo Expansion, yeah, it did all those things. I really liked Octo Expansion. It checked all my boxes and left me satisfied. No.
How to make Octo Expansion actually be good. Step 1. Tell an actual story.
I like how even though it was a non-linear campaign, it still told an actual story. In Hero Mode, there's some story at the beginning, and some story at the end, and a few quips during the levels, and that's it. In Octo Expansion, there's story periodically spread throughout the experience. It explores a lot of the backstory of Pearl and Marina, and Captain Cuttlefish, and the underground dimension you're in, and doing it via the chat room feature was a great touch, and the cutscenes are also really well done. And not only is the story good, but also the setting and atmosphere. The underground, alternate dimension, late 80s/early 90s retro wave aesthetic makes Octo Expansion simultaneously look visually distinct while also fitting into the Splatoon world.
Step 2. Add in new gameplay objectives.
Hero Mode was basically get to the end of the level. That was pretty much the only objective, and it got very repetitive after a while. In Octo Expansion, you got all sorts of levels with varying objectives, and even the levels that do repeat objectives still have something unique about them. You gotta get to the end, use the jetpack, use the baller,
break the targets,
protect the orb, don't get hit, limited ink, bust the boxes, guard the 8-ball. Also, the 8-ball levels aren't hard, guys. Y'all are just impatient. Except for this one. Played lots of pool in my time, and I still had a lot of trouble with this one. But there's so much variety here. Some of the levels are fast-paced action, while others are more slow and methodical, like the shrines from Breath of the Wild. And even though the levels are harder, they're all super short compared to Hero Mode. It's great because you constantly feel like you're progressing, and you won't lose a lot of time if you fail and have to retry. Most of the longer levels have checkpoints, however there are a handful of levels that don't have any checkpoints, but probably should. At first I was disappointed that the bosses were recycled from Hero Mode, but even they're remixed to feel way different, and in most cases way harder. In general, Octo Expansion is definitely the most difficult content Splatoon 2 offers, other than trying to win a match with a disconnect on your team. However, I personally didn't find any of the challenges too challenging. But that's just me. Most of my deaths and failures were just from stupid mistakes.
Step 2.5. Please do not pad out the gameplay.
You didn't have to find the levels like in Hero Mode. You just go to the level because it's a subway. In addition, you don't even have to beat all 80 levels to quote-unquote get to the ending. And you never have to repeat a level either to unlock anything, unlike getting all the hero weapons in Hero Mode.
Step 3. More rewards for completion.
I like how when you beat all the levels in a line, you unlock something new immediately to use in the multiplayer. In Hero Mode, you didn't get anything until the very end. Considering how Hero Mode is supposed to basically serve as a tutorial, and also considering how bad most players are at Splatoon, I can tell a lot of players haven't played the Hero Mode because it really de-incentivizes the player if you don't give them stuff until they practice a multiplayer game by themselves for over 6 hours. So I'm glad Octo Expansion changes that. It motivates you to complete more and more levels in smaller chunks. I was a little disappointed by the fact that you only get the Octo Shot and not all the Octo weapons that are clearly coded into the game, but I guess we'll just have to spend more money to get those ones since they're probably locked behind the Octoling amiibo. Pay up, bitch!
Step 4. Add in co-op.
There's no co-op.
Step 5. New music.
I put good video game music into 2 categories. Music that's good on its own, and music that fits what's going on in the game really well. While there are a handful of Octo Expansion tracks that fit into Category 1, like Shark Bites and Fly Octo Fly, most of it slots into Category 2. The songs were way more subdued than the typical Splatoon song, and it's a perfect fit for the underground retro wave aesthetic that Octo Expansion is themed around. So in summary, I really liked Octo Expansion. It's so far the best Switch DLC that I personally have played. Certainly better than the Breath of the Wild DLC. Sidebar, what was even the point of that one-hit obliterator section? It's just like, after 8 months of not playing the game and trying to relearn the controls, you're immediately thrown into a section where you die in one hit, and you're given a melee weapon that constantly needs to recharge, so your only option is to use arrows, but then, oops! You got shot from something off screen, and then you go through some of the most bullshit ass shrines in the entire game, still with a quarter of a heart, and then refight all the bosses just to get a motorcycle in a game I've already beaten. So yeah, Octo Expansion is good. I hope they make another Splatoon 2 DLC campaign, but I doubt they will. Now here's some memes.
Stop remembering. The days are just like moments turn to hours.
Super secret final boss spoiler time. Turn back now if you don't want to be spoiled, but come on, it's been 2 months. Everyone knows what it is. So the game pulls a Pokemon Gold and Silver, where the secret endgame boss is your character from the first game. But the thing is, I didn't hack the first game, but clearly Agent 3 did. I mean, come on, infinite auto bombs, 3 splashdowns in a row, are you kidding me? This is one of the hardest bosses I've ever fought. And in Splatoon, no less. Is this supposed to be some meta joke about how a lot of high-level players hacked abilities onto the gear in the first game because they didn't feel like re-rolling with Spike for hours? I just can't wait for Splatoon 3 Jelly Expansion, where Agent 3, Agent 4, and Agent 8 all hack the game and gang up on you.